Hey, I'm Matt Lownes, live here at LTV, and this is Ask the Supervisor with Town Supervisor Peter Van Scoyoc. Today is Monday, September 20th, and let's get going. Peter, how are you doing today? How was your weekend?
I'm doing great, Matt. What a beautiful weekend we had.
Oh, yeah.
Weather was astounding. Gorgeous September weather. Had a number of events that I went to, including the CCOM picnic out at Fort Pond House in Montauk, talking water quality and protecting our local environment. So, uh,
You
this is
gotta
my
love the
favorite time
fall.
of year, really.
Yeah, you gotta love the fall weather out here.
Uh,
It really is beautiful. As always, you can call in and ask us questions at the line above. Um, we're here on LTV's channel 22, LTV's YouTube page, and our website, ltveh.org, every Monday at 5 p.m. with Town Supervisor Peter Van Scoyoc. Just dial the number on your screen and you'll be able to put in a queue to speak with Peter. If you have questions that you don't feel like calling in, you can email me at mattlownes@ltveh.org. Peter, let's jump right into it. The big news here in town this week is the statement the town put out, you specifically, about the fight against privatization of the Ocean Beach. I'm just going to read a little bit of your press release, what you said in the press release today or last week. The ability for all members of the public to access and use our beaches is a fundamental right for East Hampton's residents, one that must be protected and maintained. So, Peter, with that being said, tell me a little bit about why you put out this press release and what the latest is with the potential condemnation and maybe even an eminent domain process of the Seafoam Beach.
So, what's really happened is that we've exhausted our potential appeals in court to the most recent appeal where the plaintiffs were, I guess, awarded the right over that section of beach. It's about 4,000 lineal feet of beach, nearly a mile of beach that has historically and traditionally been used by East Hampton residents. It's got the name of Truck Beach because it was one of the beaches in town where you could drive a four-wheel drive out on a weekend day and spend the day, with families. There were a lot of locals who did that for many, many, many years. The use of that beach is very well documented. In fact, when it was sold to Arthur Benson by the trustees back in the 1800s, there were reservations to that deed which ensured the continuing ability of residents to fish and land and dry nets along that section of beach. This beach has been historically used. I've fished this beach myself for decades, east of Napeague Lane. And I just think it's really important that we not let our beaches get privatized. And there certainly is a sound public purpose to condemning the property for the public's use and enjoyment. And I just think it's so critically important. It's what we're all about. The Dungan patent granted the citizens of East Hampton back in 1686 these rights over our beaches, and they've been maintained ever since. And I just think it's such a part of our heritage. It's such a part of what makes it so special to live in East Hampton. And we're ready to continue the fight to ensure that people have that access to our beaches.
Sorry for before. We did have some technical difficulties. The number is now up top. You can call in and ask questions, just letting everyone know out there. Peter, as a follow-up question, what can citizens do, if anything, right now to support the town's movement in trying to reclaim the land as public?
Well, I've made it abundantly clear that I feel that condemnation is the next step at this point. And I think showing the town board members that the public supports this move is important because we do still have to make that decision as a board. We'll need a majority of the board to choose a path forward. So I think that's important to let town board members know that you support that move. And I don't know that we really have any other options at this point. And as I've said multiple times, I'm not willing to let this stretch of beach, nearly a mile of our ocean beach, go.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, condemnation, eminent domain, It was a bit confusing for me, so I had to look it up. My understanding of the process is you can take the land if you can prove that it's for public use or there's reasons for public use of it, but you would have to give the homeowners association fair equal value of the land. How does the town plan on doing that if beach land could be upwards to millions of dollars?
Well, I think that that'll be a central part of an argument in terms of determining what the value is, because the public's not been excluded under, public doctrine. I think the intent of the property owners is to exclude now the public, but there certainly, I think, are prescriptive easements of continual use by the public for centuries. But nothing can be built on it under town zoning, so no development can take place. So I'm not sure where the value would be if you can't build anything on it and you can't exclude public, right to fish there, for instance. So it can't be held exclusively. So I'm not sure that it really has as much value as maybe some of the homeowners would like everyone to believe. I think it's to be determined by the courts, but we would certainly put what we think is the actual fair value. The other question I think I've heard some people raise is, well, if they own it, why aren't they paying taxes on it? And so that's sort of a sidebar, but not currently assessed.
Has there been any cases like this in any other state in our country where there's been access of the beach being public or private land?
Yeah, so I think, the most recent example I can think of in East Hampton is Barcelona Neck State Park. And at the time of, I don't know, the I think it was about mid 80s, that was bought by a developer and was slated for development, condos, and 18-hole golf course and all sorts of other amenities and development. And there were public beaches and access along that stretch. And the property was condemned. They paid the developer $40 million, which at the time some people thought was an exorbitant amount of money. But a few decades later, you could see what the value of, I think it's 341 acres of waterfront property. $40 million is less than a number of oceanfront homes at this point. So, I think it's important to continue to invest and protect our town, our beaches, and our open space.
Now, for the viewers at home who may not understand how eminent domain, how the process works, what is the first step if the town decides to move forward with it, and when would it take place?
So those are two good questions, and I'll answer them as best I can. I can be a little bit more certain as to what the process is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Rather than timeline, because again, I'm only one person on a board of 5, and you need 3 people to agree to move forward on anything. But the first thing is, if the board decides to move forward, is to schedule a public hearing, and that hearing has to occur within 10 and 30 days of the notice. And there are a number of different noticing requirements. It has to be published for 5 consecutive days in a daily paper, or 2 successive issues of a weekly if there's no daily available. Once there's the public hearing, then there's a publication you publish, and then you serve the findings of that hearing. And you have to do that within 90 days of the hearing. And then there's a vesting order from the court. So vesting the town with authority over that land. Basically, we would take title at that point. And that's pretty much the process. And it could happen really pretty quickly, within a couple of months, potentially.
So
as short as a couple of months.
So potentially speaking, and again, at home, I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm just saying, potentially speaking, if the town goes through with this, the beach could theoretically be open next summer?
Oh, absolutely. Likely be before that even. Like I said, I think, it could happen as soon as a few months. And I would think likely before the end of the year.
And now,
Again, if the majority of the board decides to move in this path.
last question on this topic, and then we'll move on. From your opinion, why is it so important to defend the land for the town? From the town's perspective, why do you think it's so important?
Well, I think you need to do nothing more than look at communities west of here, whether they're on the north side facing, the Sound, Long Island Sound, or if they're on the ocean. The number of public beach access points is severely limited, and in some cases, there's no beach at all to walk along because of bulkheading, and that basically is privatization of that waterfront. And that's something that we've always held as a resource for us. We're a farming and fishing community originally, and that's part of the reason why public access was so important for the entire community. It was held in a public trust. As I mentioned, the Duncan Patent originally transferred the land to the trustees and to the commonality of the town of East Hampton. And so it's a huge part of our tradition. And, to have interrupted sections of Ocean Beach is I think so contrary to the way we enjoy and cherish the town. The ocean beaches particularly are major economic driver for our entire community. It's that free public access to all our waterways, which I think has really contributed significantly to the value of properties, as well as the quality of life, certainly. So absolutely crucial that we continue to fight and maintain that.
Yeah, and it seems as though it's a very hot topic in town. Wherever you go, people are talking about it. It's in the newspapers. So it's definitely something that we're going to keep an eye on and probably talk about in future sessions. And again, if anybody wants to comment or ask a question with Town Supervisor Peter Van Scoyoc, please call in 609-663-0574. Peter, tomorrow you have a meeting at 11 a.m., I believe, a town board session. What is the focus item for that tomorrow?
So our agenda tomorrow will be the unveiling and presentation of the personal wireless infrastructure poll that we put out. Our consultant Cityscape will be presenting that, and this was the culmination of a multi-week poll that we circulated throughout the community. We had an overwhelming response. In fact, Cityscape, who works throughout the country advising communities about cellular infrastructure, says this is the highest response they've ever had from a community. Didn't surprise me necessarily, because I know, first of all, that our community is very much involved in what goes on in the community. And also I'm well aware of the shortcomings of wireless communications within the town and the rather urgent desire by many to have them improved. So we'll go through that. We also have a presentation from Orsted Eversource. This is a request for access relative to survey work and the undergrounding of the transport cable from the offshore wind farm, primarily along the Long Island Railroad right-of-way, but they have a couple of locations along the railroad right-of-way that they need to gain access to, and those are on town properties. They're presenting their findings of the initial survey and inventory of environmental and other cultural research that they've done to make sure no artifacts would be disturbed or other wetland species and whatnot. So we'll get a presentation from them. We're going to have a presentation from our own Melissa Winslow from Natural Resource Department regarding South Lake Drive stormwater abatement conceptual plan. South Lake Drive is a town-owned road end and park area that's at the south end of Lake Montauk.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at water quality improvement project to keep stormwater from running off the roadways into the lake, creating bioswales and upgrading the septic there, no low nitrogen system. So we'll be discussing that. We'll be reviewing the environmental assessment form on the Cabaz acquisition. This is a 7-acre, this is part of a 14-acre parcel, I believe, but we're acquiring 7 acres next to the Terry King Ball Field for a future senior center to be built there. And then lastly, but not least, we'll be discussing rededicating the Amagansett Youth Park in memory of Lee Hayes, a local resident who was a former Tuskegee Airman.
Yep.
Served in World War II, was a B-25 bomber pilot. And in that particular area of the Amagansett Youth Park, many of his offspring and relatives have lived for many years. And we just think this is a great opportunity to recognize Mr. Hayes for his contributions to our town and to our country as a whole. He would be 100 years old this June, but we would like to discuss, again, memorializing him by rededicating the Amagansett Youth Park.
I think that's a great idea. I'm an Amagansett resident. I remember he came in and talked to us when I was younger in Amagansett school. So I definitely think that's a fantastic idea. That's a lot. I'm not going to lie. You just said a lot of things about a lot.
Right.
So with the runoff in Montauk, the street runoff, the water, I mean, is that going to be fixed sooner than later, or is that just we're talking about it right now?
No, I mean, this is the conceptual design plan that was put together by P.W. Grosser and LaGuardia Landscaping Design. And this proposal is being presented and reviewed by the town. The town would put forward water quality improvement funds out of the CPF reserves for this project. We know that road runoff is a major contributor to contamination in South Lake and in other water bodies throughout town. So we have a number of projects that we've been working on to improve Cabonic Harbor, in Sag Harbor, Northwest Harbor, and other locations throughout the township. This is just one more of many.
And on the Cabaz 7-acre plan, would that be a live-in senior center or a daily senior center?
No, this is for our senior programs. We have a nutrition program, we have adult daycare,
Okay.
All sorts of other activities that seniors can participate in. And we've really outgrown the existing senior center, and there's really not room on site to build the new center. We looked at that as an option, but it would be so disruptive to maintaining our current activities on that site that we've decided we really needed a bigger parcel to work with. And anybody who's looking for real estate in East Hampton will understand that trying to find an available piece of property that is centrally located, is large enough for this type of project, and gains the support of the community is difficult. And it's taken a couple of years really to find this piece of property, and it's taken a while once we found it to complete negotiations. At this point, we are going to be reviewing the environmental assessment for that project with our town attorney and assistant planning director Eric Shantz. So we look forward to getting the project started, and this is another step towards completion.
Awesome. It really does sound like good stuff, especially because there's a lot of seniors out here still, and it's necessary out here. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about COVID while we have some time here. Again, you can call in below 609-663-0574. The number is just updated on the New York State website that I was looking at. We have a 4.2% rolling 7-day average here in Suffolk County, 4.3% rolling 14-day average. So the numbers are pretty much around the same as when we talked last week here. Are there any COVID updates within the
Yeah,
town?
and I think the county numbers and state numbers don't really reveal
Yeah.
all that's going on here locally. We're getting much more current numbers and reflective of the number of people who are testing positive within the community who may not necessarily reside here. So
Okay.
their positivity may not be reported as being in East Hampton if they're from somewhere else. We've had a 10% positivity rate in Montauk for the week ending on the 13th. As of the 19th, it's up to 14% positivity rate. So there were 370 people tested between 9/14 and 9/19, just that 5-day period, and 370 people, 50 of them were positive. In East Hampton, 1,263 people were tested in that same period, 154 positive. That's a 12% positivity rate. So here, actually, we're seeing the positivity rate stay high. It may have even increased a little bit since the week before. And I know that we have some town staff. We had some buildings and grounds people, custodial folks that have come down. We have some police department, PD personnel that are sick, and so this is still very active infection within the community, and you need to be extremely careful. The Delta variant transmits so much easier, dozens of times more easily than the initial strain. So you really should be wearing a mask when you're indoors around other members of the public. You should take precautions. Again, washing your hands regularly, and just be careful. If you're not vaccinated, you really should get vaccinated, because serious illness can result if you're unvaccinated. And there are breakthrough cases for those who are vaccinated. The CDC is now advising that if you're over 65, you should get a third shot. Or if you have underlying immunization, immunocompromised situation, then you should also seek a third shot. So that's really where we are right now. We are still sponsoring, first-time vaccinations. If you need vaccine, you can call my office. We'll set you up with where you might be able to get one. It changes from time to time. We just had a vaccination clinic out in Montauk on the 14th and vaccinated 99 people.
Wow.
So we're very happy to see more people getting vaccinated who are not vaccinated. It's just so important we all get vaccinated.
Is the town considering taking any more aggressive measures when it comes to maybe mask mandates or anything else along those lines? Or is the town more so gonna wait and see how it goes over the next few weeks?
Well, we're going to continue to monitor the infection rate. As you know, we went back to virtual meetings. And if you're coming in to do business at town hall, you do have to wear a mask regardless of if you're vaccinated or not. And we're encouraging, again, people to wear masks when they're out shopping. It's up to private store owners at this point whether or not to require masks. If mandates become, the norm, then we'll certainly be, working to enforce them. But at this point, I don't think we're going in that direction.
Yeah.
But we're going to monitor, the state health department and the CDC, and if it comes down from the state that has to be done, then in order to protect public health, then we'll follow suit.
And have you heard anything from the superintendents of the school districts out here about how it's been the first few weeks of school with COVID?
So I haven't had any direct conversation since they've opened. I know that there's ongoing testing that's being done to help, maintain a safe environment. But aside from that, and we've looked at expanding our own testing here in town. We're discussing bringing in another company to expand the testing and to have faster turnaround times, improve the capacity of and access to testing, COVID testing here in town. So that's something that we're going to be discussing as well as a board, and I hope to have something in place this coming week to move on expanding that testing here.
Awesome. It sounds like the town is being very proactive about COVID, so that's great to hear. We only have a few more minutes here, so unless there's anything else that you would like to address, we've talked about a lot here. Seems to be a lot going on here, and no callers. So I hope everyone has a good weekend. Peter?
Yeah, thanks so much. There's a lot going on this time of year coming up. I know the big clam contest is coming up on, I believe it's on Sunday. Or is it? Yeah, Sunday, the October 3rd, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
This time of year. Yeah, there's a lot going up. We have the Centennial Celebration. East Hampton Centennial Celebration is this Saturday, I believe, starts at 11. So a lot of fun things to do. Hopefully the weather will continue to be great. And again, stay safe and be careful out there, everyone.
And I believe the fireworks are this Saturday night with that, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so there is a lot to do this weekend. So again, like Peter said, be safe, have fun, and thank you for watching.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep, have a good week.
You too.
Thanks.